What is up, nerd herd? It's your man, Jordan Reigns. We are back again with another episode of In My Defense over here on the Dynasty Nerds YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit a thumbs up. You can get notifications whenever we get new Dynasty Nerds videos up for y'all, so you stay on top of your Dynasty, leagues in the off season. So you're always up to date. We got all kinds of profiles coming up for rookies, all kinds of awesome stuff. So make sure you do those two things for me. Appreciate that. We are going to be talking about the defensive back leaders of 2020 today. We're just going to run through the top 12 guys, the defensive back ones of this last season, kind of tell you how they got there, where they're at in our rankings right now and what we're projecting for them going forward. So as you are here with me, I appreciate that. Like I said, give me a follow on Twitter at 50 Shades of Drunk. I have Dynasty content over there. I have IDP content over there, a lot of that. So check that out. As always, everything on Dynasty Nerds IDP wise is going to be looked at through the lens of IDP 123 scoring. You can find that article that explains that scoring system on our website. Just search IDP 123, and then Impact Plays. Recently, an article I just put out this last week actually on Impact Plays is kind of a companion article to the IDP 123 article, explaining why the Impact Plays, what they are and why they're scored the way they are. In IDP 123 scoring. So go check those out. You'll hear me refer to Impact Plays as I talk about players as a way to basically lump in all the plays that are, more than not tackles or quarterback hits, essentially is how that works. So we will go ahead and jump in, and I guess we'll start by just running through the top 12 defensive backs of the season. Then we'll go through them all individually, and I'll get you out of here. All right, let's go ahead and jump in. Number 1, Budda Baker, 279 points. Number 2, Jordan Poyer, 273.4 points. Number 3, Malcolm Butler, 265.1 points. 4, Jesse Bates, 259.2. Number 5, Malcolm Jenkins, 254.8. Jeremy Chin, number 6, 251.4 points. Justin Simmons coming in at number 7, 248.9. Jamal Adams, number 8, 247 points. Marlon Humphreys, 245.8. Kenny Moore, 244.5. Jabril Peppers, 244.3. And then Adrian Phillips, 230 points. Those are your defensive back ones for the 2020 season. As you can see here, just, quickly just want to point this out towards the end here, 7 through 9, the difference in points, well, especially 9, 10, and 11 are all within a point and a half of each other. So you had several guys grouped in there. But that 7 through 11 spot, was pretty interchangeable, but the points are the points. And, that is how the season shook out. Kind of surprising Jabril Peppers made his way up in there, but we'll go ahead and just start at the very tip top. Budda Baker, number 1, his 4th season in the NFL, safety for the Arizona Cardinals. Played 15 games this year. He went out of a game because he had a thumb surgery, so he did miss one game this season. Still led the league in points, 279 points. Had a career high in impact plays this season. 18 total. Nabbed his 2 first career interceptions in back-to-back weeks this season. You'll probably remember one of them pretty well. It was the Seattle Seahawks interception where DK Metcalf ran him down the field right before he got in there for a touchdown. So he's not necessarily a big impact player. Like I said, this is 18 is his career high. He's a high volume tackler though, so you love to see that. He does have playmaking upside, as we saw this year. He's seemingly always around the ball, which is that's going to increase your opportunities to be a playmaker. He did slow down towards the end of this season. You may have noticed he had those big weeks in the middle, but he's still a Nerds defensive back 2 going forward right now in our rankings. And he finished number 1 this season. So awesome season for Budda Baker. Number 2, Jordan Poyer. It's his 8th season in the NFL with the Buffalo Bills right now, currently. Played 16 games, 273.4 points. His career high combined tackles this year. I think he had 120 something or 116 maybe. I don't have those numbers right in front of me, but it was a career high number. But it's interesting because he has set career highs in tackles every year since he's been in Buffalo. He was also a top 10 defensive back last season. Like I said, he had fewer tackles than he had this year, had more tackles this year. So like I said, career high, and he finishes a defensive back 2 right on the tail of Budda Baker. Both those guys were incredibly consistent this season. And it's what you expected when you drafted them. They're, a couple of the most dependable guys. Like I said, they were both in the top 10 last year. Budda Baker was in the top 3. Poyer, I believe he might have been top 6 for both of them. So they're right back up there again this year. Poyer is currently the defensive back 7 on Dynasty Nerds rankings. Coming in number 3 was Malcolm Butler, his 7th season with the Tennessee Titans. Currently 16 games played, 265.1 points, IDP 123 scoring. What's interesting about him is the number 1 defensive back last season was Logan Ryan, who played corner. He was a predominantly corner safety, depending on who you ask. For the Titans last year, they ended up letting him walk, and he went to the New York Giants. Malcolm Butler kind of assimilated into that role and ended up, producing top end numbers very similar to what Logan Ryan did last year. So 100 combined tackles at the cornerback position is incredible. That's going to get anybody up there pretty dang high. So kudos to him on that. And he did have 19 impact plays. That's pretty good. Most of his points, though, did come from solo tackles and pass deflections. He did come through with 14 pass deflections for you there. So that's always a good boost. That ended up being 42 total points on the year from pass deflections. So you like to see that number as well. And he's currently Dynasty Nerds defensive back 34. That's probably because he's a corner and because he is getting a little up there in age. But big season for him if you have him on your team. Kudos to you. So we'll slide on down to number 4 on the season, Jesse Bates, 3rd season in the league. Cincinnati Bengals, played 16 games, had 259.2 points, career high pass deflections, 15. So he was really good in coverage. You might hear people say that you need, the conventional wisdom is generally the anecdotal wisdom, the redundant thing you hear in IDP spaces is you need to fade free safeties and look for only box safeties. But that's really not necessarily true, especially for scoring setup in IDP 1, 2, 3 scoring. Jesse Bates is a good example of that. He is a free safety. Budda Baker is playing free and strong safety, kind of back and forth. So if your pass deflections are being scored properly, you can get up there as far as your numbers can go. And pass deflections really need to be at least a minimum of 3. But yeah, he had 78 solo tackles as well. Only 2 tackles for loss, but those 15 pass deflections and 3 interceptions. 3rd year in the league, 3rd year with 3 interceptions. So that's consistency from Jesse Bates. Currently the defensive back 8 in Dynasty Nerds consensus rankings. Slide on down to defensive back number 5 on the season was Malcolm Jenkins, 12th season in the league for the old fella. New Orleans Saints, back to his old team, played all 16 games this year. Truly still an incredible, impact player, 25 impact plays, 3 interceptions, 10 pass deflections, 2.5 sacks, 7 tackles for loss. On top of that, 69 solos, plays all 16 games, was a top 20 guy last year. I think he might have even been top 15 last season. He's 33 years old. So that gives some credence, these older safeties, if you're built with the right stuff, you can play a while. We just had Antoine Bethea just retired. He was like 33, I think. Malcolm Jenkins is 33. So Jordan Poyer, I believe he just turned 30. I just spoke about him previously. That's probably why he's still very high in our rankings, is because safeties, if they stay healthy, they can be very productive late into their careers. Harrison Smith's another kind of guy that falls into that mold of an older safety that, you might be able to pick up a little bit cheaper. That's going to put up numbers for you. But back to Malcolm Jenkins, a great season for him. Like I said, 10 pass deflections, 25 total impact plays, 254 points. And this is a guy you probably got as, he's currently Nerds defensive back 31, and if we're being real, he probably was drafted, 20 plus in most of your leagues, just because he's kind of old and people just want to fade him. Maybe that's not true, but that's kind of the feeling I got from him going into the season. So if you had him, you had a great season out of Malcolm Jenkins. So awesome on him. Like I said, currently Nerds defensive back 31. He can only play so much longer, but if he gets another season with the Saints, I would anticipate similar-ish numbers. Number 6 on the season was Jeremy Chinn, first rookie we've talked about, Carolina Panthers, 16 games played, 251 points from the rookie. It was really, it felt like a super explosive season, but honestly, he only had 15 impact plays. He did have the big game where he had the 2 touchdowns, so that kind of inflates everything. It feels like it was a lot bigger than it was because that was a monster game, and it was in a very important week of the season. I believe it was 8, 9, 10, when we were all very, paying close attention to how things were going. So it felt like more, but only 15 impact plays for the rookie, but that's still good. 117 combined tackles, currently Nerds defensive back 3. It's only going to get better for Jeremy Chinn. In reality, if you saw the way he played very well. He plays fast. He plays all over the field, getting the tackles all over the place. That Carolina offense, defense, I don't really know what their situation is going to be like, but they have that young, aggressive defense, and Jeremy Chin appears to be, an emerging leader on that team. So he's an awesome player if you have him in Dynasty. He's linebacker and DL eligible if you play on Sleeper. And like I said, he's currently Nerds linebacker or defensive back 2. Coming in at number 7, this year we had the 5th season player, Justin Simmons, 16 games played, 249.8 points, finished as the defensive back 7. Also in 2019, last year he had 233 points, so he scored fewer points last year, but he finished at the same spot. 77 tackles, 5 interceptions. He's always been a bit of a ball hawk. 18 total impact plays. He always gets up there in the pass deflections. If you look at his charts, if you ever see any of my stuff I post on Twitter, sometimes I'll send out these pie charts with how the players are scoring. Through my Twitter feed on where they're getting their points. And Justin Simmons is always one of the more interesting charts because he's really a very I don't want to say rudimentary, but there's certain things he just doesn't do very much. And his chart is generally one of the more bigger pieces, and you don't get a lot of the smaller plays. He gets a lot of his points from the same spots. It's usually a lot of tackles, a lot of pass deflections, and then interceptions. Currently, he's the Nerds defensive back number 9. Number 8 on the season was Jamal Adams. 4th season in the league. 1st season with the Seattle Seahawks. Crazy thing is he finished top 10, number 8 right now, as I mentioned, playing 12 games on the season, 247 points. Broke the NFL's defensive back sack record this season, had 9.5 sacks in only 12 games played. That's crazy. He had 6 or 6.5 last season in 14 games played, and people said he would regress. I guess he did slightly regress if you do the sacks per game, maybe, but anyway, he's amazing. We watched history this season with him. People tried to knock him. People wanted to poo-poo him because he had bad attitude, and all the Jets. You know how Jets fans get. They got all in their fields when he left. We don't need him anyway. Sorry about you. And I really am sorry, Jets fans. That's just kind of you were there. You remember. But Jamal Adams went to the Seattle Seahawks, had an amazing season, 25 total impact plays in just 12 games. That's over 2 a game. That's crazy. Nobody else did that. Though that's like the highest impact play per total game. 16 sacks in over his last 26 games, averaged 4.9 solos per game this year. It might have not felt like he was a tackle guy this year, but that's the second highest mark of his career in solos. He averaged 4.3 in 2019, 5.3 in 2018, and then 3.9 in 2017. So he still got, the baseline solo tackle numbers for you, averaging 2 impact plays per game. One of them's basically a sack, and they're using him that way in Seattle. They're not trying to make him do other stuff. He didn't get a lot of pass deflections this year, but he's had seasons where he's had more pass deflections because he was used that way. So kind of fade the narrative he can't cover. I just don't think there's other guys that can cover it. There's not everybody that can do what Jamal Adams can do, especially rushing the passer. Career highs in tackles for loss. This is, again, a crazy stat because he played the least amount of games he's played in his career, only played 12. But like I said, career low pass deflections this season, and he's currently Dynasty Nerds defensive back 1, and that's how it should be. So, number 9, we had Marlon Humphreys, 4th season in the NFL with the Baltimore Ravens, 15 games played, 245.8 points, 27 impact plays. He had one of the highest impact play numbers. I think he had the 3rd or 4th most impact plays of any player on defense this year. Led the league with 8 forced fumbles. For the cornerback position, that's incredible. You probably won't see that again for a long time. Career high 82 total tackles, 2.5 sacks as well, 11 pass deflections. He got it done everywhere on the field. Currently, Nerds defensive back 30. I think that's a little bit low. I'm not sure exactly where I have him in my defensive back rankings, but I'm sure it's not outside the top 25. So maybe I'll go over an update on him if he makes any big moves in the next month or 2 in our rankings as we all kind of dive into this last season and looking towards the next year. Number 10, also coming in here is another cornerback. We have Kenny Moore, 4th season, Indianapolis Colts, 16 games played, 244.5 points, 24 impact plays, 4 of those being interceptions, a career high 68 solo tackles, career high 13 pass deflections, and the Nerds Dynasty are defensive back 24. So people say we have good cornerbacks pretty high in our rankings as they should be. In IDP 1, 2, 3 scoring, it allows you don't have to necessarily jack up anything or premiumize anything for quality players to score high. Marlon Humphrey is a good cornerback. Kenny Moore is a good cornerback. They both finished in the top 10 in IDP 1, 2, 3 scoring with good safeties and other good cornerbacks. So, Kenny Moore, 4th season in the league. Like I just said, he was a breakout candidate that several people in the IDP world were kind of calling this last year. So awesome on him. Defensive back 24 in our rankings, Kenny Moore. Number 11, sorry, my bad. Jabril Peppers, 4th season in the league. New York Giants, played 15 games, 244.3 points. So he was only 0.2 points behind Kenny Moore. Only 1 point basically behind Marlon Humphreys. Could have been a top 10 finish, but 24 impact plays for Jabril Peppers, 91 total tackles, which is a career high, 11 pass deflections, a career high by a good mark on that one, 8 tackles for loss, another career high, breakout campaign for him. Nerds defensive back 5. He had a stretch in the middle of the season. I believe it was from like week 6 to 12 or 13 where he was basically averaging 25 points a game. That's how he got here, because early in the season, Jabril Peppers was not getting very high tackle numbers or impact plays. He was just kind of skating by. I think he had like an 8 and 11, maybe an 18-point game. They were all pretty low early, and it was a little worrisome, and he did roll his ankle in a game, had a high ankle sprain. So he was limited on some snaps in the game, I believe is what ended up happening. But once he came back from that injury, like the following week, he was on fire the rest of the season. High tackle numbers, high impact play numbers. He was all over the field. That Giants defense that nobody really saw coming into the year, a big part of their success was Jabril Peppers and Blake Martinez, 2 players that a lot of people kind of like to poo-poo on for being, not good at football, whatever the hell that means if you're an NFL player, So Jabril Peppers, good on him. Like I said, Nerds defensive back 5. He ended up finishing number 11. Slow start, played through injury, but career year for him, and I'm really excited to see what he does next year. And number 12, the last defensive back 1 of the season, was Adrian Phillips, 7th season in the league, played for the New England Patriots this year. It was his first year with the Patriots. I believe he signed a 2-year deal, so he will be back with the Patriots this next season. He was pretty much a tackle guy for them. They played a lot of linebacker snaps, assignment football with the Patriots, doing whatever the heck they were trying to do this year. So he should be back next year, revising this role in some capacity or another. We'll see what happens with Kyle Duggar, who's kind of the sleeper heir apparent whenever this Adrian Phillips does move on, or maybe they'll find a way to play them both this year. Like I said, 76 total tackles. That's where he made his hay this year. Only 13 impact plays. Currently nursed defensive back 27. I think that's pretty fair considering his age, what we're really going to see out of him and what his upside is. But to get top 12, a lot of that is just being available, and he did play, like I said, all 16 games. But yeah, good pickup if anybody had him on their teams. He came through a little bit the year before. He's kind of just been around for a while. That's why he's, like I said, Nerds defensive back 27. We've all kind of just, been aware of Adrian Phillips. He's a guy you could have, picked up and played kind of all last couple of seasons, but had a good season this year, finishes a defensive back 1. So kudos on him. So Nerd Herd, that's it. That was the defensive back 1s of the season 2020. I hope you found this video awesome. I hope you appreciated it. I hope that it gave you some information that maybe you didn't have that you can take forth into the offseason as you prepare for your rookie drafts. Make sure, like I said earlier, you like and subscribe to the channel. Like this video, give it a little thumbs up. Check out my written work on Dynasty Nerds. I'll have an accompanying article with this. You can go back and check out the video from last week on the top 12 linebackers for this season. Next week, we will have the top 12 defensive line. Like I said, there should be an accompanying article with all these on the website sometime within a week or 2 after this video post. Go check out the IDP 1, 2, 3 scoring article if you are looking to start a Dynasty League this year. That is the IDP scoring that we promote and we support over at Dynasty Nerds. So check that out. Check out the impact play articles. And yeah, appreciate y'all. Check it out again next week. I'm Jordan Ray signing off. Nerd Herd. Be good.